This is JRAM.
And this is Billy.
And this is the JRAM and Billy Show.
And today we are going to be reviewing
Friday the 13th, Part 2.
All right, James. So tell me a little bit about this movie. It was the first time I had ever watched this one, of course.
Yes,
just like the second one or the first one. Sorry.
I've seen them all multiple times. This movie actually came out the very next year after Part 1. It came out in 1981.
Yeah, so they must have known that the first one was going to be a successful movie.
Well, no, they didn't. It surprised them. That's why they rushed the sequel.
Oh, okay.
It's because it was such a huge hit that they realized, oh, we need to make another one of these.
Yeah, and I know that in this one, Jason plays a bigger role in it.
Jason's the killer.
Jason is the killer of this movie, which is the start of
Jason's reign, basically.
Yeah.
He's the killer in he's the killer in the movies.
You sound like a little bit of foreshadowing there.
Could get confusing.
A little bit?
A little bit.
All right.
You may have some questions.
Yeah, so if I had to give this movie my initial rating, I would probably say probably about a 5 out of 10. I actually liked the first one better. I think I rated it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
So,
6 or 7.
So I would have to say based on, watching the first movie and then watching the next one, it's definitely not as good in my opinion. Okay,
yeah, I can see that. But here's some things to know. For example, Friday the 13th Part 2 was not supposed to be a direct sequel to Part 1. It's actually supposed to be a movie with just the same kind of title and a totally different story. Because what they wanted originally was to make Friday the 13th an anthology series like Black Mirror or The Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Where every year you'd have a movie, but it wouldn't be related to the next one.
Yeah.
Or the one before it.
Yeah, I could see that, definitely. Especially with the first one. Because I feel like, like you told me, the Jason scene where he jumps out at the end and pulls her down from the canoe.
Yeah, it's a dream sequence. Yeah. It wasn't supposed to be real.
Yeah, but the second movie runs with it.
Yeah, because they were like, no, this made us a ton of money. Let's make the exact same thing, but a little different.
But he was super jacked, compared to the
He
kid.
was a mountain man.
Yeah. That was also a little bit interesting of a story plot, as they were like, oh, he's like a man beast, like somebody who lives out in the woods, and well, that he actually didn't die whenever his mother thought he drowned.
Yeah, all the fans tend to have their own timeline and their own theories. Here's what I've pieced together. My theory is Camp Crystal Lake, it's a big lake.
Yeah.
Jason was swimming. He got caught in some kind of riptide-like thing and washed up on the other side of the lake.
Okay, and this is your theory.
This is just my theory.
Yeah.
He's mentally challenged. We know that from the first movie.
Yeah.
So if he washes up on the other side of the lake, he might not recognize where he is. And because he's mentally challenged, it may take him a while to work his way through the woods, having to learn how to live off the woods until he makes it back to Camp Crystal Lake.
So he's like a mentally handicapped Tarzan man.
Yeah, pretty much.
And where, Pennsylvania, was it?
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
He works his way back to the original camp, only to see his mom get beheaded. Then he goes after Alice. This is where we get to the spoilers of Part 2.
Yeah.
Because this is where Part 2 picks up.
Yeah. So Part 2, basically, it starts out with a complete recap
of the very first movie.
The very last, 10 minutes of that movie.
Yep. The whole dramatic scene between Alice and Mrs. Voorhees.
Yes.
Just in case you didn't see the previous
she cuts
movie.
her head off.
And you see the man hands grasping for air.
Well, actually, you don't see that in the recap, but you do see it in the original film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it starts with Alice living in an apartment. It's 2 months after the events of the first movie. And she gets nervous and she starts hearing noises.
Yeah.
And she ends up going to her refrigerator, opening it up, and she sees
Mrs. Voorhees' head.
Yeah, all shriveled up and degraded.
And then he grabs her from behind, right?
Yeah, and shoves an ice all straight into her temple,
just like butter.
Yeah.
Like just shoves it right in. It's so crazy.
Here's the problem with Jason. He's mentally handicapped, but he knows things that you wouldn't think a mentally handicapped person would know.
I know you killed my mother.
Like, you know, well, that he saw. But like, the tea kettle is whistling, and instead of ignoring it, he just takes it and knows to like just take it off and put it on the other eye so it won't whistle.
Yeah.
And draw the attention of the police. That's kind of smart.
Yeah.
He works a telephone. Like, he knows to call the apartment to make sure she's home before he bothers to try.
Yeah. And after all that recap sequence, it goes to the new counselors.
Yeah, who aren't actually at Camp Crystal Lake. They're at a training camp it's around the same lake.
Yeah, it's on the same lake. It's just a different part of the lake, I guess.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily related to the original camp. It's a training camp for camp counselors.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop Crazy Ralph.
No, he's back.
Yeah.
Our favorite returning character, he is back.
Our favorite creepy old voyeuristic man.
To tell them, I tried to tell the others, they're all dead now. You're doomed. But here's the thing, we laugh, but name me another prophet with 100% success rate. He told them they'd die if they went there.
And they
He
did.
said they were doomed. And they all died except one girl.
No, except for all the group that went to the
That's the
last
second
night
movie.
on the
That's
town.
the second movie.
Yeah.
But up until that point, when he warns them, he has 100% success rate.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But of course they don't listen or we'd have no movie, and they go up and they get trained anyway. And as Billy mentioned, things happen. We meet all of our cast of characters.
Yeah.
Like Ginny, who's our lead girl.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend, Paul, who's the head of the training camp.
Yeah.
And just their friends, Terry, Sandra.
It's actually quite a big
Ted.
staff. You know?
Yeah, it looks like it's like 20 or almost maybe even 30 people there. Yeah. But don't worry, it doesn't get too complicated because pretty soon after they start, the owner of the camp, Paul, he says, okay, everybody, tomorrow we really start training, so you get one night out on the town. Mm-hmm. And that one decision saves
like half of the people. Yeah.
Way over half. Like they saved 2/3 of the people that were at that training camp. Because they all go out and they go to a bar and they get wasted, and Paul and Ginny go back to camp to see how everyone else is, but everyone else stays out all night and goes to an after hours place.
Yeah.
That decision saves their lives.
Pretty much, yeah. So, tell me, who's the first guy to die?
The first guy to die is actually Crazy. Well, it's Alice, because she, as we said, Jason gets her in the intro. But the first person to die at the camp is Crazy Ralph.
Yeah.
He sees Paul and Ginny, our two lead actors, starting to kind of make out and maybe lead further. And while he's watching them, from behind the other side of the tree comes a barbed wire garrote from Jason and cuts right into his neck. It's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good.
After that, what we have is Jeff and Sandra, our two camp counselors. Remember, and they go sneak off to find Camp Blood.
Yeah.
And they get caught by the sheriff.
Yes, and brought back.
Yeah. And brought back. And the sheriff is like, you should have located a little bit further. It's too close. 5 years. 5 years we've been clean. Because what they tell you is that part 2 takes place 5 years after part 1.
Yeah.
But Winslow sees someone running in the woods and chases him. It's Jason. He finds Jason's shack. And then he finds another thing in the shack. We'll spoil that a little later.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh my God. And as he's in shock and terror, claw hammer from behind straight into the scalp.
Yeah.
Oh, and Jason takes down another victim.
Man.
And so then.
And he hasn't even brought out the machete yet.
No, it gets good.
Yeah.
So then they all leave for the night, except for the few that are left by camp.
Yeah.
One of them is Scott, and he chases after this girl to go, watch her basically skinny dip.
Yeah.
And he steals her clothes.
Yeah, that was weird.
I have never realized until we started watching him for this podcast.
Yeah.
I think there's like a weird kind of Me Too-ish guy in every one of these movies, and that makes me nervous.
You think so? I don't know.
Well, we had what Ned from the first one that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And now this guy who like slingshots this girl's butt, and then he steals her clothes while she's skinny dipping.
Yeah. And then we got a Ratatouille lookalike.
Yeah. My goodness.
The guy who's with Ratatouille in the Pixar
film.
Ted. Is totally an actor. Yeah,
Ted looks just like the chef from Ratatouille. But anyway, so Mark.
Yeah.
No, it was... wait a second. Here, I have it in my notes. That's right, Scott. He's the one you said is a Smallville Clark Kent lookalike.
Yeah.
And I can see it. But Scott gets caught up in this trap that strings him up and hangs him upside down from a tree. And then, of course, Jason comes in and slits the throat with a machete. But what did you notice immediately?
That he cut it with the back of the machete. Like, in the scene where he slits his throat, he cuts him with the back end of the machete, not the sharp side. I don't know if they did that just by limitations of the props. Like, maybe they used an actual machete.
Or they just didn't care enough or think to, turn it around and do it the other way.
Maybe. I don't know.
My theory, it's double-sided. Like,
Maybe.
one side is a curved blade and the other is a straight-edged blade.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. That's not really how machetes work.
I know, but I'm trying to give this movie a leg up, okay, man?
Suspension of belief, is that what you're
saying? Yeah. Terry is the girl he's after, and she gets killed off screen. She comes and she finds him hanging upside down, neck open, covered in blood, and she's like, ah! And then she turns around and we don't see Jason, but she sees him and she screams and he kills her.
Yeah. And what about our wheelchair couple?
Yes, we forgot to mention there's a guy named Mark who is training to be an Olympic athlete, and he got into a motorcycle accident, and the doctors say he'll be paralyzed forever, but he doesn't think so. Yeah. He's not going to let that get him down.
Oh, and there's also that big joke of like, oh, does your dick still work?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a girl that's interested in Mark, Vicky, and she is like the most sexually aggressive girl I have ever seen in a movie. Like, she has given him like hints and clues left, right, and center of like, what do you want to play for? Position. Like, just like,
yeah.
Then she does. She says, is it just your legs that don't work? How's everything else kind of thing? And he's like, well, I get by one way or another.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it is. But hey, good for them for being like, no, the wheelchair guy gets a woman too. Like, everyone finds someone.
I don't think he gets laid, though.
No, he doesn't. Because as he's waiting for her to return, because she goes to get into sexy underwear for him, and sprays perfume, like, on her neck, on her chest, and then she sprays it, like, down in that
her crotch,
area.
Yeah.
I think that would sting. Like, it has alcohol and stuff in it.
Maybe, I don't know.
But anyway, as she's doing all that, Mark's waiting for her to return, and he hears a noise. And he goes outside, only to get
a machete to the face, and
not
then
only to the
falls
face,
down all the
hits
stairs
him so hard, it knocks him down like 3 flights of stairs backwards. You just see a dummy in a wheelchair going.
And I'll also add that it was the back of the machete that went into his face.
Yeah.
Apparently
it's got to be a double-edged machete. It doesn't make any sense otherwise.
Yeah.
So after that, Vicky is gotten with a kitchen knife.
Yeah.
So that's when Ginny and Paul return after everyone else is dead. And they find the bodies, and Jason and Paul have a scuffle. Ginny gets away.
Yeah.
Ginny goes through the woods. She's on the chase. He chases her for like, 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
She ends up underneath a bed. And after being chased by this maniac with a pitchfork, finding dead bodies, like just being stressed out of her mind, she's okay.
Yeah.
And then a rat happens to just kind of crawl past her.
Yeah, that
bothered me. And she pees herself. So she's so strong, she can handle a psychopathic killer with a pitchfork, but a rat, oh, nah, man. Psst, like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know. And then he smells it, and so he's like, oh, she's in
here. He turns around. He doesn't hear it. It's not audible. He just turns around and notices it on the ground and goes for it, but the chair breaks and she gets away. But anyway, after she gets away from that, she ends up in Jason's shack.
Yeah.
Now, we forgot to mention that Ginny has a degree in child psychology. So she knows that Jason is just an overgrown Tarzan-like man-child. So with that knowledge, she puts on the sweater.
Pause. Does he stay like that?
Yeah,
Is he always like a man-child that's kind of mentally ill?
He doesn't get smarter, man.
He doesn't?
He turns into a zombie.
Well, yeah.
If anything, he's gonna get dumber. Like, that feels weird to say because I know he has mental issues, like mental health issues, but like, it's just gonna get worse for him intelligence-wise.
All right, so she's in his shack.
And she finds his shrine, what the cops saw and was shocked by. Yeah. Which is a shrine to his mother with bodies of other people he's killed, including Alice.
Yeah.
So that we know that wasn't a dream sequence, that was real.
And like a shrine with his mother's head and a bunch of candles lit around it.
Yeah, and her sweater underneath it where she'd be wearing it in like real life. So Ginny takes the sweater, puts it on, makes her hair look like the dummy's hair, and then she stands in front of it as she confronts Jason. She's like, Jason! And he pauses, and it works. It confuses him. He doesn't know who it is. She gets him to kneel down. She has a machete in her hand. She comes up for that killing blow, and she moves just a little too much. And Jason sees his mom's head and goes, not the mama! And then he goes insane.
Yeah.
And they scuffle, and Paul comes back in. And finally, while Jason is about to kill Paul, Ginny does come up with that machete and chop him
right in the shoulder, yeah.
Like a quarter of the way through his shoulder.
Yeah, like...
almost like Thor with the Titan killer in Thanos.
Stormbreaker.
Turns out, she should have gone for the head, much like Thor. Because they get away to the cabin, and they're going to call the cops, and they're taking a breath, and they hear a noise at the door. And they open, and they're ready, and Ginny's got a pitchfork ready, and Paul's got a handle to knock whoever it is on the head, and he opens up the door, and it's the dog that was one of the camp counselors. They brought their dog with them.
Yeah, that I thought was dead earlier in the film.
That they make you think is dead.
Yeah.
They clearly indicate that Jason kills it, but he didn't. Oh, it's the dog, and they're happy, and the dog starts to walk toward the girl, and then just like in the last movie, bam! Jason, without the bag that was on his head, the whole movie comes through. He is frightening.
Yeah. Well, half of it. He looks kind of like dude from the Goonies.
Sloth?
Yeah.
He's got like a misshapen eye. He's all kind of weird looking.
Yeah.
And he looks like we've said, a Tarzan mountain man.
A mongoloid.
A mongoloid mountain man. MMM. He's a triple M. But that's not a dream. Well, actually, it's not a dream because he comes through the window and gets her. We don't see how, but they survive.
Yeah.
Because the next thing we see is Ginny being loaded onto an ambulance going, Paul, where's Paul? And no one ever answers her. They just load up, close the doors on the ambulance, and drive away.
Yeah. So your theory is that Paul is still alive.
Yes. What interviews and stuff have showed us is that originally, as she's asking that question, it's supposed to go back to Jason's cabin. It does a close-up on the Mother Voorhees' head.
Yeah.
And then the eyes are supposed to open, and the head is supposed to smile.
Yeah.
Which indicates that Paul is dead.
Yeah.
But they didn't shoot that for some reason. They just left it with its eyes closed and its mouth looking normal. And so my theory is that she doesn't know where Paul is because he's in the other ambulance.
Yeah.
That it went like 2 minutes.
Let's go for the positive ending.
I'd like to. Paul put up he's one of the only male figures in the series.
Yeah.
That puts up a fight against Jason.
Yeah.
That's worth anything. So I'd like to think he's alive.
So 5 out of 10, best feature for titties in the franchise so far.
You were very excited by the numerous titty shots we saw. I would have to give it, I know I gave the other one an 8 out of 10. I'd have to give this one a 6.
Really?
It's not a bad sequel because, again, I know where the sequels will go.
Yeah.
But I really wish they would have gone the anthology route. I would have really liked to see what they did.
Every Friday the 13th, something crazy happens, completely unrelated to Jason. Yeah, I could see
that would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be like how the Halloween series was supposed to be.
Yeah, but they messed it up because they just did a really bad entry.
Yeah. But, so this is, I guess, kind of a short episode.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't too long of a movie, honestly.
Yeah.
But it was good. It's not one of the worst ones, I can tell you that.
It could have definitely been a little more gory, and I think it was supposed to be originally.
Yes, it was, but it was cut to shreds by the MPAA.
Yeah. So, all in all, pretty decent film. Looking forward to the third one in our series.
Because the third one is in 3D.
Oh, man.
But not that digital 3D. So if any of you listeners want to follow along and you find a pair of those old red and blue lens 3D glasses, you can watch them. It's out on DVD in 3D.
Yeah, we should do that. We should try and find some of those.
Because I bought the box set I have, which contains the first 8 movies, comes from Walmart.
Yeah.
And it comes with glasses, and the DVD lets you watch it in 3D.
That's cool.
So we should try to watch it in 3D. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. How many glasses do you have? Just one?
I think just one, but I don't know if I still have it.
We'll have to look for some. All right. So this has been the JRAM and Billy Show.
And it's been a lot of fun. Have a good night.
Yeah. And, actually, before we go, I would like to say, if you haven't already, please follow us on Podbean. We actually have a YouTube channel where we post some, Let's Plays and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe and ring the bell.
Yeah. And follow us on Podbean. And if you don't listen to us on Podbean and you get these, via free download off of Facebook or whatever, you can actually look it up on Spotify if you have Spotify. And we're still working on Apple iTunes, I believe. I actually need to check and see. We may already be on there.
Yeah, but it just takes a minute sometimes for them to officiate you.
Yeah. So anyway,
this was JRAM.
And this is Billy.
And this was the JRAM and Billy Show.
And we hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you.